Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to.
50 Cent is out here thriving like a king right now. And you want to know why? Because Rick Ross just made one of the wildest plays the streets have seen in a minute. Folks say he scammed Big Meech, allegedly. And now there's even talk that Meech might have ordered a hit on him. That's how deep it's gotten. The crazy part? Everybody saw this betrayal coming, except Meech. The streets are buzzing, the internet's blowing up. This whole situation feels like it's ripped straight from the finale of some wild TV drama. But seriously, what was Meech thinking? Trusting a dude who used to be a correctional officer? That's a no-go in the code. Everyone in the game knows that. Just because someone switched lanes doesn't mean their past don't still follow them. Now let's talk about 50. He's not holding back at all. He's online throwing shade left and right. Straight jabs aimed at both Big Meech and Lil Meech. And he's not even being slick about it anymore. Ever since Ross tried to toss 50 under the bus like some leftover trash, 50's been lighting him up with every post. What really makes this whole thing insane is how Meech was out here grinning, all buddy-buddy with Rick Ross like he was some savior. Fresh out of prison, and instead of keeping it solid, Meech linked arms with the one dude who's been beefing with 50 for over a decade. 50 ain't expect Meech to jump into no war, but come on. Smiling in pics like Ross been loyal this whole time? That had to sting. Like a knife to the neck. Especially when 50's the one who stood tall for him from day one. But nah, it didn't end there. Meech didn't just twist the knife, he shoved it in deeper. He went and linked up with Floyd Mayweather too. And right beside him, Lil Meech, the same kid 50 literally put on the map. Gave him $5 million, jump-started his whole career, opened doors for him. And now he's out here chilling like everything's sweet. That's how you repay the man who changed your whole family's future? That's cold. Yeah, some folks online love to say 50 made bank off Big Meech's name. But let's be real, at least 50 put in the grind. He didn't just profit. He built a whole empire from it, created opportunities, showed love, and kept things respectful. Now compare that to Rick Ross. What did he do? Nothing but treat Meech like a pawn in some shady game of street chess.
We'll burn it all down. If you piss him off. His own sometimes too. You know, he'll cancel BMF to prove a point. Regardless of how much money he makes him.
Ross saw all this drama coming like it was written on the wall. And instead of putting anyone on game, he played puppet master. Stirring the pot, grabbing headlines, feeding that ego like it's starving. And then, soon as things got hot in the streets, boom, Ross vanished. Pulled a straight Houdini move before anyone could even connect the dots. But here's where it gets real slick. Just when the mess started bubbling over, guess who suddenly pops up claiming a shoulder injury? Ross. And best believe he blasted that all over the internet like we supposed to be out here sending get well soon vibes in the comments. But nah, that shoulder stunt wasn't about pain. It was pure distraction. A whole smokescreen to dodge the heat. Because the streets were roasting him over that crypto mess. The infamous boss token scam. Folks started calling him Rug Ross, saying he pulled the rug out on loyal fans who trusted him with their money. No heads up, no apologies. Just took the bag and disappeared like nothing happened. And check this, the shady timing. That crypto mess blew up just days after he was out here feeding Big Meech like everything was cool. It's all catching up now. Straight lies and sloppy moves. Ross shows up out of nowhere talking about a busted shoulder? Please! Coincidence? Not a chance. Word on the street is Ross was the one in Meech's ear the whole time, hyping him up to press 50 Cent for more money. If that's true, then Ross wasn't just being shady. He was double-crossing from day one, playing both sides like a pro. You can't even script this type of betrayal. It's straight madness. Now Big Meech is out here with barely a dime to his name, and the industry? They're dodging him like he's cursed, like just being seen with him gonna bring bad energy. And remember those Wingstop franchises people thought he was getting paid from? Word is Ross quietly sold off most of them. Kept just enough open to make it look legit, while he funneled the real money into his real estate game. Building his own empire in the shadows. If Ross had stayed out the way, Meech might have had a real chance to rebuild. Maybe even get a little respect back in the streets. But nah. Instead, he linked up with the wrong people, made the wrong moves, and now he's stuck watching it all crumble. One misstep after another. And Lil Meech? Man was out here burning through millions like it was nothing, dropping stacks on Chrome Hearts, trying to keep up with the likes of Gunna. Just flexing for the gram while the foundation underneath him was falling apart. Now, all that flashy lifestyle, gone. Vanished into thin air.
What I'm doing right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still counting paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby.
People online are dragging Big Meech, calling out how fake that friendship with Rick Ross really was, how fast it all went up in flames. And Michael Rainey Jr., he didn't bite his tongue. Said loud and clear he don't feel bad for either of them. They're grown and should have seen the setup coming from a mile away. And guess who else was loving all this chaos from the sidelines? Yup, 50 Cent. Lurking in his corner of the internet, locked in with that signature petty energy. You already know how savage 50 gets when he's got beef. He doesn't just throw shade, he drops nukes on the whole block just to prove a point. Pure menace mode. Even DJ Vlad had to give it up. 50 is the last dude you want to cross. He'll drag it out, flip the whole story, and torch everything in his way just to say, I told you so. And let's not act brand new. Big Meech ain't even the first to feel this fire. Rick Ross already got burned once before. Remember when Ross left his own crew stranded in Canada? Got stomped out and humiliated? And Ross pops back up later saying it was a loyalty test? Come on, that ain't loyalty. That's some straight up villain type behavior. But truthfully, Ross been moving grimy since day one. Even Whack 100 had to jump in and call him the real snake in this whole mess between 50 and Meech. And Whack saw it coming early. He didn't sugarcoat it either. Said plain and simple, Ross was never in it for Meech. He had a whole game plan from the start. Ross gassed him up, made it look like they were tight, hyped him to turn his back on 50, and sold him a dream. Money, fame, power. Told him he'd be back on top. But in the end, it was all smoke and mirrors, just big talk and no action. And no matter how some people try to dodge the truth, Whack 100 was spitting facts. If Ross really wanted to help Big Meech, he would have kept the moves low-key and business sharp. But nah. Instead, he was out here clowning 50 in interviews, flexing like he was about to scoop up the rights to the whole BMF series, knowing dang well he was bluffing. And now, that fake power play turned into nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a peep. Rick Ross went dead silent on Big Meech like he never even existed. These days, the only thing Ross is loud about is whatever lines his own pockets. And Meech? He's not part of that money-making plan anymore. But here's where things take a crazy turn. Word on the street is, Ross was the real reason Big Meech's Welcome Home concert got shut down. The same concert everyone blamed 50 for sabotaging. Ross had folks fooled, pointing fingers at 50 while he played the innocent role in public. But behind the scenes, Ross was pulling strings, making sure Meech never got that spotlight or the bag that came with it.
Do I feel bad for Lil Meech? I don't feel bad for no grown man on this planet. Like, I'm a grown man. Why the fuck I gotta feel bad for another grown man? Like, you a grown man too, nigga. You asking for my sympathy for, nigga. You be alright. Oh, yeah, nigga.
He didn't want Meech shining. He wanted him trapped in the background. Just another pawn in Ross's fake loyalty game. A side character in his own story while Ross stayed center stage. And when 50 finally broke his silence, he didn't go off. He dropped one icy post and bounced. Said, I had nothing to do with this. Please stop calling my phone. I sincerely hope you have a nice day today. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm stronger than you think I am. Quiet, cold, and chilling. That's not just a message. That's a warning shot from someone who moves in silence. Then strikes loud. At first, folks didn't want to believe it. But now, everything's starting to make sense. Big Meech really thought Ross had his back, especially after that infamous BMF track, where Ross rapped, I think I'm Big Meech, like he was showing love. But here's the twist. What if Ross wasn't paying tribute? What if he was trying to be Big Meech? Sound wild. Not really once you look at Ross's whole playbook. He's built his entire image by borrowing from real-life street legends, jacking names, stories, and swag from people who actually built something in the game, especially those tied to underworld empires. This ain't theory, this is real, straight facts. Just take a second and look at how Ross even got his name. Rick Ross didn't come up with that. He straight up jacked it from the real Freeway Rick Ross, one of the biggest kingpins of the 80s. The real Rick was behind bars when the rapper rose up, but when he got out, oh, he wasn't having it. He called Ross out publicly and even dragged him to court, suing for identity theft and trademark violation. That lawsuit kicked off in 2010, and the real Rick came in swinging with receipts. This man ran a drug empire across multiple states, and his name held real weight in the streets. But by that time, the rapper, real name William Leonard Roberts II, was already ballin' out. Big money, big fame, and let's not forget, used to be a cop. Fast forward to 2013. The judge sided with the rapper, said the name was protected under the First Amendment. Yup, they ruled it was free speech. Just like that, the real Rick Ross lost the case. Ross kept the name, the fame, and everything that came with it, even though it was never really his to begin with. Now, stop and think for a second. Knowing Ross's history, is it really that crazy to believe he might have tried to pull the same exact move with Big Meech? Using Meech's name, his image, his story, just to boost his own clout?
Bad guy out of all of this.
Who's the bad guy? I don't think there's a bad guy.
No, yes it is. That Vlad, let's talk about it.
I think Meech is the one that made a mistake.
No.
No? You think 50?
No.
Lil Meech.
No.
Who am I forgetting now?
Rick Ross knew perfectly damn well what he was doing and what that would lead to.
This might not have been about loyalty at all. This might have been about legacy theft. First, Ross drops that BMF track shouting, "I think I'm Big Meech," like he's paying tribute. But was he? Then the moment Meech gets out, Ross is right there, smiling, taking pics, acting like he's riding for him. But when it came down to it, when Meech actually needed support to bounce back, Ross ghosted, disappeared, nowhere to be found. When it really counted, Ross disappeared again. And this ain't even the first time he pulled a move like that. Let's rewind to 2021. Same hustle, different name. Back then, it was Larry Hoover Ross was name-dropping like crazy, chasing clout off another street legend's legacy. Hoover, one of the most respected names in street history, was still locked up, and Ross was out here dropping his name in bars like he was really part of the movement. Word on the block? Ross even dropped millions to the gangster disciples just so he could keep using Hoover's name without catching heat. But when it came time to actually step up and support the cause, to really show face and stand with the people, Ross pulled a disappearing act. No action, no presence, just crickets. He cashed in on Hoover's name but never gave anything real back. Not to Hoover, not to his people, nothing. And folks didn't forget that. The internet dragged Ross for that one, hard. Some say to this day he fumbled that moment on purpose. Too shook to show up at the stadium when it was time to stand tall. Just vanished into the shadows, like he always does when the smoke gets real. And now here we are, all over again. Different legend, same blueprint. This time it's Big Meech. Ross clearly didn't learn a thing. So when 50 Cent once said he never respected Rick Ross as a man, now it makes total sense. Ross don't stand on loyalty. He stands on what's convenient. He rides the wave till it crashes, then vanishes the second things get rough. Meanwhile, 50's probably somewhere laid back, watching it all fall apart, smirking, not even breaking a sweat. Still stacking checks, building projects, staying focused, while Big Meech and Lil Meech are allegedly bouncing from celeb to celeb just trying to keep the power on. But yo, here comes the craziest twist of this whole saga. Ross was out here clowning 50, talking wild, calling him broke, laughing about how he supposedly couldn't lock down a loan for his movie studio.
How do you feel about the rapper Rick Ross having the same name?
Well, the fact that he stole my name, not that we had the same name, he actually stole my whole story, my identity, the whole thing. You know, he built his career off of my legacy.
The disrespect was loud, but karma's louder. Ross was out here laughing like 50 had caught an L. But guess what? Plot twist. That loan 50 was supposedly denied? It just got approved a few days ago. Now Ross gotta sit back and eat those words while watching 50 level up in front of the whole world, building something massive, loud and proud. Fans are convinced Ross is somewhere right now, punching the air, wishing he kept quiet. Especially after he was flexing like crazy, claiming he was about to buy 50's masters. Like, what? That statement aged like milk. Straight cap in hindsight. Meanwhile, over in the Meech camp, reality finally hit hard. Big Meech and Lil Meech are looking like they've learned a few tough lessons, but let's be real, it's late in the game. 50 don't do redos. He ain't the type to spin the block and mend bridges once they're burned. And at this point, that whole connection is fried. And you can't forget about Zip with the drip. He's been loud about this from day one. Zip was saying from the jump that 50 was telling the truth about Big Meech, and that Rick Ross was gonna switch up and dip on him when the heat came down. And now, that's exactly what happened. Just like Zip called it, Ross flipped and left Meech in the dust like it was nothing. Now the streets are talking heavy. And the talk ain't good. People are saying Big Meech's time in the industry might be done. Loyalty's in question. The play's backfired. And that door? It's looking like it's closing for good. But here's the real shakeup. The latest twist got everybody watching. Word is, Big Meech is finally realizing how deep this mess really goes. Sources close to the situation say he's out here trying to clean it all up, doing damage control, calling old contacts, trying to fix burned bridges, even reaching out to people he swore he'd never talk to again. That's how bad it's gotten out here. Meech is making calls, trying to patch things up. But here's the kicker. Nobody's picking up. The respect he once had? Gone. Not like before. Doors that used to fly open? Now they're locked tight. And people are saying 50 Cent's silence? Louder than any diss track could ever be. He hasn't said much recently, but that's what makes it scarier. Because when 50 goes quiet, that's when you know he's cooking up something heavy behind the scenes. That man don't move loud. He strikes when folks least expect it. Meanwhile, Rick Ross vanished. Not a tweet, not a post, not even one of those over-the-top flexes. Just ghost. And folks are finally waking up.
In his career that you have any respect for? No, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I never wanted to work with him.
I buy your masters. You ready? I will buy your masters.
Realizing Ross may have never cared about Big Meech in the first place. It was never about brotherhood. It was about street cred, headlines, and riding the wave. Now that the drama exploded, he's out. No loyalty, no goodbyes, just dipped like nothing ever happened. And Lil Meech? Man's caught dead center in all this mess. The industry don't know what to make of him. Is he riding with his pops or trying to slide into a new lane? Either way, it's shaky. He went from starring in one of TV's hottest shows to barely getting mentioned at all. Fans are saying it's what happens when you bite the hand that built you up. Blogs are eating it alive. The streets are buzzing. And the internet? They've got receipts, interviews, old tweets, deleted posts, everything. Nothing's slipping through the cracks with this new generation of digital detectives. If Big Meech thought this comeback was gonna be smooth, this whole chapter just proved it's full of potholes. With 50 Cent watching from the shadows, best believe, this story ain't wrapped. Not even close. Let's be real. The only true comeback Meech had lined up, it's looking wasted now. After all that time behind bars, you'd think he'd come out sharper, more focused, ready to move smarter and choose better company, but nah. It's like none of the lessons stuck. One comment online summed it up perfectly. Let me get this straight. A former corrections officer flipping on someone who did real time behind bars. Who could have predicted that? It's like watching one two-faced dude get finessed by another two-faced dude. That's not just karma. That's karma served up fresh out the oven, sizzling hot. But now I gotta hear from y'all. Do you think Big Meech is out here quietly plotting revenge on Rick Ross? Or is he just gonna swallow this L, take the loss, and keep it pushing in silence? Especially now that people are saying he turned his back on Cuff, his childhood day one. Man, the betrayal is piling up from every direction and it's looking ugly. No matter how you slice it, this whole saga's been wild from the jump, and the internet's watching it play out like a front row seat to a live soap opera. Every move, every post, every silence is getting dissected. So don't hold back. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let it all out. And if you're vibing with the content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay tapped in. Yo, hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because if there's one thing we've learned from all this chaos, it's that nothing stays quiet for long in this game. See y'all in the next one. And trust, it's only gonna get crazier from here.